The new order also prohibits visas for most guest workers who come to the United States for temporary or seasonal work, but exempts farmers, among others. Georgia Republican Congressman Doug Collins is calling on Fulton County's district attorney to recuse himself from the Rayshard Brooks case.
It's time we put pressure on this district attorney to step aside in this case and let the investigation happen with an independent DA.
Collins speaking there on Fox News, accusing DA Paul Howard of filing the charges based on politics and asking for the Attorney General down in Georgia to appoint a special prosecutor. This is USA Radio News.
Balance of Nature's fruit and veggie capsules contain 100% fine-ripened fruits and vegetables, tested pure with no pesticides, fillers, or additives of any kind, and are the most effective whole food supplements on the market today. Fruits and vegetables are on an average 85% water. Balance of Nature uses cold vacuum technology to remove the water, leaving only the whole food. Our cold vacuum technology maintains 99% of the fresh fruits and vegetables' original nutritional value. Don't wait to see what getting over 10 servings of whole fruits and vegetables every day can do for you. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Start your journey to better health today by calling 1-800-2468-751 or by going to balanceofnature.com. Again, that's balanceofnature.com. And make sure to receive this special radio offer by using discount code USA.
The latest numbers on existing home sales are out, and USA Radio Network's Chris Barnes has a look at them.
Sales of existing homes across the nation continuing to plunge amid the coronavirus pandemic. The National Association of Realtors reporting a drop of 9.7% in the month of May, but experts say that may be the low point now. Tight supply kept the pressure on home prices. The median price of a home sold in May was $284,600.
The FBI is investigating a noose found in NASCAR driver Bubba Wallace's garage over the weekend. Jay Town, a former judge advocate in the U.S. Marine Corps picked by President Trump in 2017 to serve as U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Alabama, said on Monday that investigators from the Justice Department and the Bureau are looking into the incident, which happened Sunday at Talladega Superspeedway in Lincoln, Alabama. This is USA Radio News.
Working from home? I'm Chad Dodd, veterinarian and consultant to Limp Bells. Here are some tips for keeping your dog fit while staying at home. Find 15 minutes twice a day and walk your pet at a decent pace around your place. Play hide and seek by hiding some kibble or favorite toys and letting your dog find them. If you have stairs and your dog is mobile, walk up and down twice a day for 5 to 10 minutes. Or better yet, try a power walk on your terrace or backyard for some fresh air. There are more helpful pet care tips at youmove.com, spelled youmove.com.
Attorney General Bill Barr is being tight-lipped on what, if any, action the Justice Department will take regarding Seattle's 3-block zone known as CHOP. Barr telling Fox Business,
the job of the Department of Justice, to mete out justice fairly and even-handedly in that particular case and not be influenced by the mob. It's the responsibility, obviously, of the local officials and then the state officials to protect the rights of their citizens. At the end of the day, the federal government does have a responsibility to make sure that citizens are not deprived of their federal rights.
So will you challenge that autonomous city? Will you sue the mayor? What can you do?
I don't want to get into specifics, but we're obviously keeping an eye on it. And as the president said, in due course, we may have to do something about it, but we can't let it go on indefinitely.
Police in the United Kingdom are continuing to investigate a stabbing. USA Radio Network's Wendy King has the details.
A stabbing spree that killed 3 people in a park west of London is being investigated as a terrorist attack. A 25-year-old refugee from Libya was arrested on suspicion of murder after the incident. 3 other people were wounded on Saturday night in a city called Reading, just 40 miles west of London. The suspect arrived a few years ago as a refugee after Libya's civil war.
Police also say the suspect was on a watch list, and they're describing this as now a terrorism incident. For USA Radio News, I'm Tim Berg.
The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
Peterson. I'm your host, and I am here today with my co-host April Kempler on Zoom and Ed Knoll to my right. And if you're on Facebook, below me and kitty corner is Doug Ashby.
You could either say to my left or below me. They have the same connotations, don't they?
I was going to say on Facebook, Doug is the background for the words.
For the words, he is. Yes, he is. Yes, they put the captioned, stuff on there. So
it's running right by you.
I'm in the blind again.
Well, you didn't want to bring your computer because you didn't want to be distracted.
That's really, there's a lot to that. I was finding that I fiddled with it more than I paid attention, which kind of characterized my schooling days.
It takes a while to adjust to multitasking while you're on air. It took me a while to do that, especially when we went to being on Facebook, because just being, on the audio was one thing, and you could do a lot of things. But now that we're visual, it's like, oh, you got to think about this, you got to think about that.
That's
so it's
the
very
epitome.
different.
Well,
that's the epitome of an analytic thinker.
Yeah. Look at,
is that what that is?
I'm really in the dark here. I used to have April sitting right next to me, and then she went, at home.
She's still next to you. If you
but I can't.
Facebook,
But I
there.
can't see her. So she's. And today, when she signed on, I could barely hear her.
Oh.
So I'm.
Well, we'll have to turn up your hearing aid.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
I couldn't say anything, Doug. Maybe that's why you didn't hear me.
No, there's a lot of truth to that.
I thought it was a Bluetooth.
I'm just giving him a bad time.
Yeah, and that's okay. I wouldn't have it any other way.
That was fun.
Wait, April, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Oh, there. No, you're fine. I can hear you perfect.
It looks like,
and I didn't have to turn on any knobs here on the desk.
Jan and I
can't see any of you either. All I see is a big ball. Sort of a
we
ball.
were talking about going into humid climates and having frizzy hair. It appears April's in a humid climate.
Yeah, my hair goes from wavy to curly.
Wow, we're just all cutting up today, huh?
Wow, it is so good. It is so good to see you all, right? It's like great.
Ed's all poofy today. He's letting his hair grow.
I got the poof. I'm going back to the 50s.
Oh dear, some other people in our world are too, I think.
I think so.
Man.
Oh, it's quite interesting. Well, we do want to thank our sponsors, Susie Hussner and her wonderful music. And I will tell you, Susie, if you're listening, that I had a phone call today from someone that I know, and he said you are so powerful. He loves your voice. So thought I'd let you know that.
It's so awesome. Yeah. And I got my backbone back by going to yoga this weekend.
There you go. See?
Right? So I love her theme.
Is that all it takes?
Show up and try it. We're getting to show up. All you got to do is show up.
And then Light Black Productions, who produces Susie's work, and who also happens to be one of our partners and a family member, and we're so happy to have them be a part of all of this. They're located in the Southern California area. If you're in that neighborhood and need a good production company, they're the folks to go talk to. So, and if you can't find them, you call us, you contact me, and I'll get you in touch. So there you go.
Wow, look at that. She's like got a secret back door.
I do. April, did you have a good weekend?
No, actually, I didn't.
I didn't expect that at all. I guess you're not supposed to ask a question you don't know the answer to, and I just did.
What a lead-in, huh?
Typically, it's okay, but it was just a lot of bad news this weekend, and I rally, so I'm okay.
Well, we're glad
April,
you're with us.
just kind of a follow-up to what your story, which I really enjoyed about the quail and the little quailets now that are following. We had two in our yard, and now they're running around just mom and dad with no little babies.
Oh,
it makes
yesterday I did have a quail sighting yesterday with babies, and I'm pretty sure they were the ones that hatched in my front yard. So it made me happy.
Yeah, that makes you so sad. You know, I don't know if they're just, their babies are late or if the cat got them or, I don't.
Best I know, that's why they have more than one or two.
Yeah.
Right?
Glad we don't have to do that.
I used to have a cat who was a killer of animals, right? I mean, he was a working cat, and for whatever reason, he didn't like quail. They were too easy, right? There's a little baby quail. You can catch them. People can catch them.
Yeah.
Right? If you can catch them.
Yeah. Anyone can, right?
Right.
I think that's why they have about 15 of them.
It is.
Doesn't it look great seeing them running around like that, though?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're just too cute.
Yeah. Well, we have a great show today, and we hope that you'll stick with us at least through one of the hours, if not both.
What? You better be listening for all 120 minutes of quality airtime.
They better be listening to all 3 hours, right?
That's right. That's right. Today, 3 hours.
Only
3
two.
hours.
Yeah. Yes, we have Chris Paris and Mark Aston who will be joining us from Navaca. And Ed's going to have some tips for break time.
Woody-hoo.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting segment, to say the least. We've already kind of previewed some of that. And April's going to cover some weight loss stuff. And April should know. April is an accomplished weight losser.
Nice.
So, and then second half, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But hopefully, Mary Kelly-Koa will be joining us at the end of the second hour. So it's going to be a great show today. I hope that everybody can hang out. I know that life out there is just crazy. Everybody I talk to says crazy times, and I agree.
And hot.
And hot. Yeah. Here in Reno, yes.
Yeah.
Here in Reno, it's very, very warm right now.
Yeah, wait till next week.
But
It'll
nice
be
air in the studio, so we thank Christian for that. All right, so we will be back. You're listening to Susie Hessner in the background, and we appreciate her music. And we are What's the Story? We tell you whatever stories we can, and we try and keep them truthful if we can. Right?
Oh, darn. Oh, sure. Boy, that's a killer.
We'll be right back.
Hey, all you entrepreneurs out there. Whether you have a small business or work from home, LeRue Press offers a virtual office and business address for all your business needs. Located at 280 Gregg Street, Suite 10, LeRue Press is your personal assistant for friendly all-day service. Need a conference room to meet with clients? You got it. With LeRue Press, you also get phone answering service, mail forwarding, package pickup, and even help branding your business. Call LeRue Press at 849-3814 or go online to lrpnv.com.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
I spend a lot of time in the garage, but even more time in the rain, sleet, and mud. In '95, I helped tow your moving trailer. In '05, I helped you get out of a ditch. Yeah, I know I'm a bit rusty, and sadly in '09, it was sparks from me, your handy chains, dragging behind your truck that accidentally started a wildfire.
Sparks from dragging chains can start a wildfire. Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
180/111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak. I'd walk.
150 over 90, and I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure sounds like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from silent. Get back on your treatment plan or talk with your doctor to create a plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
Head to toe, everything's changed.
Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
This overload.
Shannon Lawson here. Join us for the Nevada Radio Roundup, Fridays at 2 p.m. A good news variety show all about the local scene. The Nevada Roundup, Friday at 2.
Wake up, the sun below. Got another road to sow. Let the fire feel the hope swelling up from the depths of my soul.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now, back to the show.
Well, welcome back. You are listening to What's the Story, and this is our Business Spotlight segment. Love this segment. We started this after the pandemic with the thought that those businesses that are looking to get exposure would be able to come on and share their stories. We're all about the story, and this is a great time to make sure people know you're still there, you're hanging in, or maybe you're starting up, or whatever it might be, whatever your story is, we want to share it. Today we have two awesome gentlemen, and they are part of a world-class team from Navaca, which is a Nevada company. And Christopher Paris was with us in a past show. He's the co-founder and president. And today we also have Mark Aston, who's joining us, and he's the co-founder. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
All right. So let's get right into the interview, because these things go so quickly, and I want to have our audience understand a lot about what you guys do and a little bit about the company. So Chris, I'd love it if you'd start out, since you were the one of the co-founders and you're the president. So give us a little bit of a rundown on this.
Sure. So Navaca is a company that helps electrical contractors streamline their purchasing processes. Really, it's a tool. People talk about an end-to-end connectivity tool. This really truly is a tool that the field workers can use to initiate and track purchase orders, and improves the productivity for the electrical contractor and the distributor.
And it's a pretty novel approach to this, correct?
Yeah, it's an interesting approach, and that's what we're finding. A lot of the manufacturers and ERP systems, software companies we're talking to, they say they've not seen a unique approach to solving the problem like ours.
Which is wonderful. So, Mark, welcome to What's the Story, and tell us a little bit about how you got involved in this project.
Well, I spent 35 years in LA. I'm an import from England, and I started a number of companies in the construction industry, mostly distribution, some manufacturing, mostly global or international. I had a couple of winners, retired and moved to Reno with my wife, and was enjoying the good life. And then I started mentoring for an accelerator here called Startup NV, which is run by a good friend of mine, Jeff Sailing. He introduced me to Chris. I saw the app. I was looking for something like that 5 or 6 years ago before I retired, and I thought this was really awesome. Key among the reasons being that it gives a remote worker more control over his purchase orders. And many people who place orders from the field, they scribble it on a piece of cardboard or a piece of paper. Now they have an app to send an image and the real name that the manufacturer uses, and it just eliminates confusion, less meetings. So I moved into the company with Chris. I'm a full partner with him now, and he was generous enough to make me a co-founder.
Wow, that's pretty phenomenal. Go ahead.
Did you gentlemen happen to present at 1 Million Cups before?
No, we did not. We certainly would be prepared to at some point, but we have not.
Right.
Not
When
this
they
time.
get up and going, I was, seems like I've heard of a company right in construction, or at least, I know you got so many different databases and so many different parts. I don't pretend to understand your space, but I know that you have competition, right? Folks are actively pursuing it pretty aggressively.
Well, there are always competitors, and there are competitors with apps in just about every field of construction. But most of these so-called end-to-end apps go from the office to the manufacturer. we're actually going from the field to the office. We're not trying to compete with anybody else. We're trying to fill a niche that hasn't been filled yet. So it's a very tiny niche, but it seems to be very important. A lot of contractors and other companies have said, we have a purchasing app, and then they see ours and they say, well, we haven't got that. And so that's
Awesome. That's killer.
That's why we're growing, and I'm very confident with how we're doing this. And Chris is the man. He's really surprised me with the terrific app that he put together. He brought in a partner to code the iOS for the Apple phone. He did the coding himself. He went into Google training school, and he's now an official Google coder. And he coded the Android model, and we're now bringing in some interns from UNR. We've had great help from the UNR HR resources department with their Handshake app. And so we're building out our development team. I'm very excited with how this is going.
Wow, it's really grown a lot since we talked to you last, Chris.
Yeah, it really has. It's really unbelievable, the attention that we're getting from people now. I mean, so literally some of the biggest names in the industry are talking to us right now.
And was that as a result of what you did with that startup group?
Startup NV, yeah. So that's where Mark came from. Initially, Startup NV assigned Mark as a mentor, because you get a mentor and a coach through the program. And Mark, he's also a committee member, and but he was so interested in what we were doing, or what I was doing, that we just kind of really meshed and started working really well together.
That's just wonderful. I mean, I had told you when you came on the first time that I really wanted you to stay in touch, and you did a good job. Chris was very proactive in getting back on the show, and I appreciate that, Chris, because sometimes we lose our guests because I lose track. So good for you for kind of hounding me a bit, and that was great. I also want to mention that when you talk about this, you're also talking about reducing costs for what you're doing, correct?
Yep, it's going to reduce cost. It's going to reduce hard cost, and it's going to reduce the intangible costs that not a lot of contractors track, such as project delays that are caused by an incorrect material delivery. Those aren't things that are typically tracked. But we're not just talking about electrical contractors either. We're talking about construction. We're talking about implications for healthcare, automotive, manufacturing, utility. Of course, we're just focused on contracting right now, but there's huge potential anywhere there's a remote worker initiating, or anybody who needs parts, for that matter.
And you also have some beta testing that you're looking to do. Talk about that a little bit. Either one of you. Mark, I don't know, maybe you want to talk about that?
Well, Chris is really better geared to...
all right, fine. Fire away.
Great. So yeah, we are actively seeking electrical contractors as beta testers. We have a functioning product, and we're seeking partners to help us develop the product further and test it in the field. Although we have designed this application not in a vacuum, but through functional testing with other contractors and distributors. But we're looking to do some more formal beta testing, get some feedback from people. Of course, there's a rewards type of program, as well as the productivity increases that you see by being on the front, in the front of technology in the industry.
And how does someone go about getting involved in the beta testing?
You can go to our website at www.nevaka.com. That's NEVAKA. We're also on social media: LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We have a beta test sign up form. If you fill out that form and submit it, we'll reach right back out to you and see what we can do together.
As far as interns working with you, are you still having that happen, or is that something that's available if somebody was interested, or is that kind of done and you've moved on?
No, absolutely. Interns, there are a number of very well qualified students at UNR, whether they're graduate students or undergraduate in computer studies. We've selected a couple that we'd like to have work with us right now. We're just going through the paperwork so they can effectively start with us July 1. We just put out another application for a UX or user experience student who can help us with the front end or the visuals of the app. So I've been very impressed with UNR and how they responded to us through the media and through their app, and helped find these very good candidates for us. So we hope that once we go to revenue and we actually have a working app that customers are using and paying for, that we'll be able to go back to these same interns and bring them on full-time and give them a career with Navaca. That's what we're hoping can happen.
What a great opportunity. And Chris, what an awesome story that how you started and you just decided to develop this app and where you've gone from there. What would you tell somebody that's thinking about doing something maybe on the fence, and how would you advise them?
I don't know if I would advise somebody to start a company.
I would.
It's definitely satisfying because the reward I think is great, but it's very difficult when it comes to the development and the sales and marketing. When you're talking about protecting the company properly, it costs a lot of money and it costs a lot of time, and you should be prepared to sacrifice weekends and nights.
I think that is about the best advice I can hear from somebody that's become an entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur you do have to be willing to sacrifice a lot, and I think sometimes people don't realize that when they go in. What would you say to that, Mark?
Well, if you believe in yourself, keep on getting up and trying again. I've started 8 different companies. 4 of them were about break even. 2 of them I had my head handed to me, and 2 of them were very successful, and that's why I'm sitting where I am and have been able to help Chris and join him. So keep on trying, never give up. Never let anyone tell you can't do it if you believe you can.
That's great advice. Well, you guys, I really appreciate you being on What's the Story and sharing your story. I think it's incredible. And Chris, it was great to meet you originally, and I'm glad you came back on. And I hope you'll continue to share your successes with us.
Of course, I'll be happy to.
And thank you so much for having us on your show. It's been a delight for us too.
Wonderful stuff, you gentlemen.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you as well. And you are listening to What's the Story, and that's just one company's story. You probably got one too, so share it with us. We'll be right back.
Businesses, writers, check this out. Go to lrpnv.com to get your printing, publishing, and professional services today. Need a virtual office? A place to receive and forward your mail with professional address and suite number for your business? Someone to answer your telephones? Want to rent a conference room for only $15 an hour? What about that book you've been wanting to have printed? LRP Printing and Business Center can do it for you, and they have a professional assistant on site daily, Monday through Friday. Just call 775-356-1004. Need copies, business cards, invoices, books, booklets, or graphic design to help brand you or your business? Just call 775-356-1004 or go to lrpnv.com. With a great selection of new and used books, you can get your printing done and a book to entertain you in your time off. And don't forget, you could have your business sponsoring the Book Hound radio show, just like Andrew Martoni, author of Little Man on the Map, does every week. Just go to lrpnv.com. That's lrpnv.com or call 775-356-1004. They'll provide solutions for your business and writing projects.
1 in 3 adults in America have pre-diabetes, but most don't know it. To let people know it can be reversed before it becomes type 2 diabetes, professional basketball player Julius Randle is doing everything in reverse.
I'm only dunking with reverse windmills. I drove the whole way to practice in reverse. I don't recommend it. This move's called the reverse shuffle. I do recommend it. And it took me months to learn how to speak in reverse, like this. Years 10 almost for diabetes type 2 with living Ben has mama. In other words, my mom has been living with type 2 diabetes for almost 10 years. So together, we want to say to the 84 million Americans at risk, exercise and healthy eating can help reverse prediabetes. Start by taking a simple 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Bet he can't say that in reverse.
No word in the English language is less convincing than probably.
Are you sure we should get matching tattoos on our first date?
Sure. We'll probably stay together.
Probably? It's been 23 minutes since I ate. I can probably swim.
You should wait 30 minutes.
Okay, now tell me what to do. Cannonball! Cramp! Oh, I have a cramp.
I can probably hit the green from here.
Probably.
Can I get a mulligan?
Ready to go?
Hey, are you sure you're okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm pretty sober. Yeah, I'm probably okay.
Probably okay isn't okay, especially when it comes to drinking and driving. If you're drinking, call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now back to the show.
We are back with What's the Story, and we had a wonderful interview with Chris Paris
Really
and Mark
interesting
Aston
guys.
of Navaca. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great story, and like I say, I love the fact that Chris was willing to follow up. And sometimes you ask guests, "Oh, follow up with me so I can know what's going on," and you never hear from them again. You kind of wonder. Well, you wonder what happened. Where did they succeed? Were they able to get through it? And obviously, he's feeling the pressure of entrepreneurship, which I think is a really valid way to explain. Whether if you want to get into this, be prepared.
Well, if you're growing, right, that's positive stress,
Absolutely,
right? It's
yes.
a total positive stress that, right? I mean, without that pressure, there's no impetus to achieve.
Sometimes, yeah. It depends on the personality, too. Everybody responds differently. I'm great on deadlines, but I work well under deadline.
Yeah.
I maybe that's how I learned to work. I don't know. I haven't figured that out. I just know I respond well to it. So I give myself deadlines. As an entrepreneur, you have to give yourself a deadline.
How do you feel the
sounds like
business
this-
climate is right now?
Hold on one second. Go ahead, April.
Sorry, it just sounded like Chris had his ducks in a row. He had a plan.
Yeah.
He did the education.
Yeah.
So I thought he was very impressive because of
I
the
did too.
education aspect. But then to launch it, which also took a lot of commitment.
Right. And
determination.
going into the unknown, a huge unknown,
To see it
something
through.
brand new.
Business folks need to have a big picture and then take small picture steps that
Right.
result in the big picture.
And you were asking, how do we feel about what climate?
The business,
It's hot outside.
No, the business climate right now, is it, with the virus and everything as a background and the slump, is it starting to come out of the
You
doldrums, do you
have to
think?
make your own business right now. You
Yeah.
have got to be creative.
Yeah.
You have to be proactive. You have to be a go-getter. Probably not as much in your business, Ed, but in my business and probably in yours, April, you can't sit on your hands.
You want to
This
seek
is a very hard time.
You
Very
want to
hard
seek
time.
to stay out of the economic ups and downs, right? If your business is going well because the economy's going well, that's not special, right? You want to be being able to have
But it's-
independence so your business can thrive when challenges
I
exist.
think it's a good question though, because it's different for different businesses. Some
Yeah.
businesses are thriving; they're just going.
Yeah.
Right. But I know in mine, it's not just going. We have to be proactive. That doesn't mean we're not doing okay. We're not doing well. I'll be honest. We're not doing well. Oh, everything's awesome. No.
Right.
But we're not doing badly either. Truthfully, we're kind of surprised we're able to pay our bills. Right?
Awesome.
Same
Awesome.
here.
It's
We
like,
just
oh,
keep moving forward.
this is great.
Well, the reason I asked is I had breakfast this morning with my son, who has Truckee Meadow Pest Control.
Right.
And we were talking about this very thing. How's the business climate? And he says, we are about a third below what we were last year at this time. And he is super aggressive. He's super positive.
Right.
He's an absolutely excellent businessman. And I kind of wonder, with your pulse to the what's going on in the community, I wonder how people are doing.
I think it depends on who you are as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that is going to have a bearing
Yeah.
on how you're doing.
Well,
unless it's one of those businesses that's just naturally got that traffic flow and everything. But if you have to go get it, if you're not that kind of entrepreneur,
I'm going to
you may
say that the
struggle a little.
commercial space, right, is right? There's lots of space. I'll call it a little bubble, right? If you want a place to rent, there's space, right? There's places to find.
Yes.
But residential's happening. Bet the folks that are doing residential pest and inspections, we're ahead in housing in this market.
Well, I just read this morning that in national average, they're almost 10% behind what they were.
Yeah, but we're like 20% ahead.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear.
Our market's really strong.
So I think it's real variable. I don't think that I could say I know what everybody's doing. I mean, I ask anywhere I go. I ask, how's it going? And, try and get a real good feel for, what's really happening.
Well,
it's hard.
You know what's interesting? Right along those lines, everywhere you go in Reno here, you have every shopping center you will see at least one, if not two, businesses that say help wanted. And I mean, this morning I went to the post office, a sign, help wanted. I mean, my gosh, everywhere is hiring. So
well, Texas Roadhouse was busy yesterday. They had lots of dads that were there waiting in line.
Yeah.
But
So
Kohl's not as much, and their hours are shorter. So I'm sorry, April, go ahead.
No, I was just saying to your point, Jan, that you were saying you're surprised at how well you're doing. It's because you run your entrepreneurship much probably like we do, and that you've had things in play and things ready to go. You're always trying to change it up, switch it up, do a new angle.
Be diversified, yeah.
And that's how we are. We're constantly looking for that or that like you said, angle.
Right.
And if you're starting new right now, it's really hard, I think, because we have over 20 years experience of having things in play right now and a foundation built, and we're falling back on that. And that's very important.
Right. Yeah, it's a weird market is I guess what I would say, because it really does depend a lot. I bet we could have 5 different people call us from 5 different businesses and get all different answers.
Yeah.
I think it'd be all over the map.
So I'm looking at hiring new loan officers, right? And I got one who's in construction. I got one who was a restaurant manager. I have one that sells phone systems. And there's another one that actually works for another institution. But they've done a whole bunch of other stuff and are pivoting into mortgage.
Well, see, I think those are all positive signs, because here we're talking about 3 different industries, and everybody said, well, it's not great, but we're in there
holding our own.
Yeah.
So I think it's all location.
But not only that, some of it is what the government did. The government granted loans as needed. They gave a little spiff to everybody. That helped out. It wasn't a lot, but it was better than nothing. And if you use it wisely, then, hopefully it gets you through whatever crunch it is you experience. And everybody's is different. Some, it's plenty. For some, not enough. I think it's all over the map there too.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of support. And I do think that was important in this time. But I don't want to get off track here. We only have a few minutes left, and I want to do our topic, which was tips for break time. So let's say you're working at home, or you're working, you didn't get time off during this pandemic, and people do different things at breaks. And fire away there, Ed. Tell us about
If you take
this.
breaks, you're a loser.
Oh, I knew you were going to say something.
No, right. I looked up this article you gave me, 51 things to do when you need a break at work. And no. So
that's what Ed thinks of my article. Woo, so throw it away.
So we're all different and all different personalities. So let's talk about energizing kind of things. To me, being self-employed, I'm not told what to do. I'm not told how many hours to work, right? So what I try to do every other day is a 3-mile hike to Monty Ranch Park, about 53 minutes. It's a killer lunch, right?
But I worked for, and I'm even going to say who I worked for, Mason McDuffie in Orinda, California, when I was there. I was their bookkeeper. And I have to tell you, I looked forward to my breaks.
You were chained to the desk.
I was chained to the desk. So I think that's the perspective I'm looking at is, well, some people are chained to the desk. They're 500 hours and never a break, or what do they do on their break? So that was the premise.
And I think that
entrepreneurs, totally different game.
A lot of this stuff was game playing and things that I think are bad habits. habits, right? I mean, when you're looking
Mr.
at
Judger.
well, no judging, just for me, right? I mean, for me, right, I try to stay away from bad habits, things, right? When do these things happen to me is having a pet project, right, that takes a half an hour, whether it's adding stuff to your database, right, whether it's I read Mrs. Polifax, right, I whip her out. When I'm overwhelmed, I find a seat in a coffee
But
shop
that's a good thing,
and
yeah.
read for a half an hour,
Right.
and it chills me down, right?
What about those that have only 15 minutes or 10 minutes? Sometimes they only have 10, right?
Yeah.
What, besides hiking it to the restroom, what else can they do to kind of get that breather they need? Give them some ideas.
You know,
push-ups.
Say push-ups?
What was
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
So you can partner with a health coach and eat right, right? You can start eating your lunch right.
Please.
So
I want a game.
have a carrot. Oh, sorry.
So I'm talking about productive things that wipe your mind, right? Like, for instance, I do yoga, not for physical, mostly mental, right?
That's, I think, a
if
good
you're
thing,
all in when you do appointments, or when you're all in doing a task or achieving something, you need to block out the other stuff. And also, right, it's a day. 24 hours, folks, right? I'm an alcoholic. I live this day as good as I can live it, and then I wake up tomorrow and do it again. Our jobs are the same, right? You got to find that happiness. And I think, like a daytimer, it's personal, right? What
It
you
is personal.
find,
Yeah.
whether it's twisting your hair or, you
know,
know.
and what's interesting is the difference in personalities. When I was in communications, when we had a dispatcher, they would literally, they work a call and they have headsets like this, and they would look at their watch, oh, break time, and they would unplug. Say, weren't you working a call? Yeah, but it's my break time.
Oh.
Plug back in. I'll give you, I'll add it on the end.
Government work. We call that government work.
We'll have to talk about that on the other side. But we're going to hear from April when we come back. So hang with us. We've got another segment before our news break. And we will be right back. This is What's the Story?
At A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, we've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe styles and sizes for both men and women. From all-season shoes and orthotics to work boots and safety shoes, our professional and reliable staff possesses the knowledge to help you find the proper shoes to fit your needs. Hard to fit? Hard to find?
A Proper Fit Footwear is here to give our customers happy feet. We make people aware of potential foot problems as we're sizing their feet, suggesting the right arch support, and guiding them to the proper shoes for their needs.
Stop by A Proper Fit Footwear at 4001 South Virginia Street in the Reno Town Mall today, and allow the owner Mike Jones and our fabulous staff to find the perfect pair of shoes tailored to your specific needs.
A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, the home of happy feet, where comfort and your feet meet.
Ready for a live game of Clue? For nearly 30 years, Funtime Theaters held private and monthly dinner murder mysteries. Each night is different, and each event includes dinner and a show. You're the detective, and your job is to figure out who did what to who and why. At the end of the night, a super sleuth and not so super sleuth are awarded prizes. This is a great event for a birthday or holiday party and team building events for your office. Visit funtimetheater.com to make your reservations and use promo code RADIO for $5 off each admission.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you on, we took a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team, but I don't think you can be an intern here anymore. We want to hire you.
You're serious?
Absolutely.
Find your next great employee. Introduce yourself to the Grads of Life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
I won't let you down.
I know.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
Getting to know you.
Let me tell you about America Matters with Eddie Floyd. It comes on every Monday at noon. Don't want you to miss it. That's America Matters with Eddie Floyd.
Now she's gone like a little...
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now back to the show.
Welcome back. This is What's the Story? I am Janice Hermson, and I have all my co-hosts with me today. We've got Ed Knoll.
Hey.
Doug Ashby.
Hi there.
And then last but not least, April, who's up next. And she's got some stories about weight loss on her Reno Gal Says. Welcome back, April.
Hi, thanks, Jan. I have to say two things. I feel like I'm with my big brothers on the show. They're my unruly big brothers.
Absolutely.
Oh, I think that's a compliment, isn't it? Yeah. That was meant. Wait a minute. That was meant as a compliment, wasn't it?
No,
Likely not.
You're my adorable big brothers.
You know we can get even.
And Christian, I love that I can see everybody in that little thing. I don't see the big ball.
Oh.
So that's good. I see you guys have something to look at.
Nice. Yeah. Very nice. Wow.
So,
Christian's getting uptown on us.
Yeah. So my Reno Gal Says today is about some questions I get a lot, because number one, I'm going to just put it out there. I'm not an expert. I'm not a trainer. I'm not a nutritionist. I don't have Ed's background. I only don't know from my personal experience what works for me. But many people ask, how do you maintain the weight? Because it's one thing to lose it, but how do you maintain?
And you've done an excellent job of that,
Indeed.
I have to say, because you lost it fast, but you kept it off.
It's great discipline.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So discipline is probably part of it, but lifestyle change. And so maybe, I get a lot of questions. What do you do? One of my top things has got to be my eating habits. And I even took a picture of it. Every morning I will start off, and I wrote a list of it. One apple, one, the cuties, the little oranges. Yep. One cutie, a quarter of a cucumber sliced, 3 mini peppers, and a half a cup of carrots. And I put that all in. In the past, when I was on the go, I put that in a baggie, took it everywhere. And the colors are gorgeous together. Everyone would stop and say, that is so beautiful. That looks like fun to eat. And it was fun to eat, and it tasted good too. But now I just put it on a plate, and I don't stop till it's done, but I don't eat it all at once. I just sort of eat it gradually. So that's part of it. That's the base right there, the eating. I do know that from some research that I've done, when you do exercise, it is good to have a carbohydrate protein combination. So that could be a fruit and a peanut butter, or a tuna, or a dairy. Like you could do yogurt, you could do turkey. I do string cheese and turkey, and I eat apples. So, I just keep it going. I'm also gluten-free, so a lot of bread is not a problem for me, but I do eat gluten-free bread, and in moderation, it doesn't matter. So I eat whatever I want. I have mayonnaise, I have butter, I have peanut butter, I eat M&Ms, I eat potatoes. But if you do this while living a healthy lifestyle with adding all these factors in, the exercise and the mindful eating, the water intake, then it's going to be okay. You can eat the foods you want to eat. I make lasagna. I'm Italian. You're not going to take my pasta.
Remember, all you got to do is eat right today.
Yeah, and I don't limit it to just a little quarter cup. serving. I will have a big thing, but not, actually at my stage of I can't eat a whole lot at one time, but I can eat a lot over the course of the day. The number 2 thing is there's 2 different kinds of exercise. There's moving, so that you could do walking, you could do a slow jog, you could do interval walk and jog, you could do a quick run and walk. I try to get 30 minutes in. I don't go far, I don't go long, but I do go consistent. And this is where I've talked about habit over motivation. Because I don't feel like it some days, but it's my habit, and that triumphs over anything like that. So then also there's a lifting, weightlifting, strength training. You can use your own body weight. You don't have to be a big, heavy muscle man. You could go 3 to 5 pounds. I go 10 to 25 pounds of things. I've found some great things on YouTube to follow. Some are 10 minutes long, some are 40 minutes long. And I'm going to list those in my blog of the 3 or 4 that I like. One of them is blogalates.com. One is Fabulous50s. The other is AthleanX.com. And then my favorite, Erin Stern. She's an Olympian. She's amazing. She's like Wonder Woman. And I don't look like her, and I don't want to look like her, but I take her tips. And, that's the point, is you take what you want from each of these things and make them work for your lifestyle. And it need not be a lot, just a little bit, and it makes all the difference. Water. I drink a lot of water. But you know what I found out? I don't think I drink enough water. There's a calculation. There's math.
There's math. Do we have to do math? Come on.
You have to go by your weight, because sometimes if you weigh more, you need to drink more. So there's a little formula. I guess you take your weight times 67%, and that's how much. So if I just did that,
Ounces?
I have to drink.
How many ounces are you supposed to drink?
So the only thing with these things is, April, it's got to include everything we drink: water and coffee, soda, because otherwise it doesn't pan out.
Yeah.
Right. It's hard. And plus, if you exercise, you have to add even more, like 12 ounces more. So this isn't really like easy. The water thing's not, if I don't drink a lot of the water, I don't worry about it. I don't hassle it. Do it tomorrow. Maybe not. Not ever. I don't know. I try. It's good to at least drink some water. So make sure you're drinking water. If you want to go to the calculation, go for it. But if you can, we don't want to waterlog ourselves either. And
it's all about moderation and balance.
Yeah. Exact. Moderation's key. And I'm moving a lot. Like I sit on this show here, and that I get up, I can hardly walk. I'm stiff. So standing is good. Moving around. I dance in the kitchen when I'm making dinner. I got music and I'm dancing. So whatever kind of movement you can get into your day, it will count. And so I also want to warn you though, be very cautious about any type of exercise, any kind of movement. You could have an accident very easily. This weekend, my girlfriend fell off her bike, had a very bad accident, just running into her husband who was on the bike in front of her. Oh. She needed stitches. She needs dental work. It's, you don't want to break yourself down as you're building up. So please go slow. Go, know yourself, and don't try to do too much.
Don't ride a bike.
That was a lot, wasn't it?
Oh boy, that was. Did you have a glass of water there? I think you need to cool your tongue off.
I have a big water.
She sounded like you, Doug.
Yeah, she was on a roll, wasn't she?
She was.
April, if I hear you right, I think I have a pretty good diet, because in the morning, what I do is I put usually peaches, strawberries, all the fruits, and I put them in the blender. But if I hear you right, what I need to do is I need to throw in a piece of turkey and a slice of bread and mix it all up in there.
That's not you. Oh, the thing I don't do is like whey protein and soy protein. Those were also things you could add to that shake if you want to, which I don't actually do that kind of stuff, but I know others, it's recommended. You have to this is a warning on the shake thing. You don't want to blend your fruit, because that's more calories. Ed will tell you.
Yeah,
really?
Just boatloads of sugar, right? The perfect power bar is peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Really?
Right, if you look at the carbohydrate, protein, and carbohydrate.
Yeah, but that's hard. That's hard to get out of the blender.
No, but We're just talking about
I don't
healthy
think they
here.
want you to blend it there,
Best I'm telling you, healthy
friend.
is a hard cleanup, right? Hard cleanup for healthy.
Yeah.
And I will reiterate, none of us have the credentials for advice here.
Certainly don't. But people
But
wonder
personal
how I
experience.
look like I do
Yeah.
and what
Personal
I do.
I was going to say, believe it or not, I do have a
I know
BS
you
in
do.
nutrition.
Yeah, Ed's the only one that's even halfway qualified to talk about this.
Oh, yeah, he is,
That's right.
isn't he?
That's why I said in the
Yeah.
beginning, I'm not an expert like Ed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, he
Yeah.
does have that credential. Good for him.
Moderation in all
I was
things.
going
Yeah,
to start
that's
off
that,
by
yeah.
saying, well,
Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
You don't have to buckle your seatbelt or hold your hat or anything because my news is not earth shaking. I don't have the secret.
Yes, you do. You know what? One of the things that you do so great is listen to you. You had fun doing it, right? If we can all have fun doing these challenging tests, they make them a little more palatable.
Right.
And you've mastered that, April.
You know exactly. That's exactly what she did. She identified the problem. She says, "I'm not happy with where I'm going," and the most important thing is she took the responsibility to change it.
Yeah, that was great. Well,
That's
you
right.
just did an awesome job, April. Thank you for sharing that, Reno Gal
And I
says.
felt like it was a good piggyback to what Ed had to say.
Yes,
You know our subjects are simpatico.
there you go. As long as it's not
Whatever
Virginia
that
Lake.
means.
Oh yeah, I gave up
We're
on that one.
multicultural.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, you're funny. Oh, my goodness. So we're getting ready to go to our long break. It's our news break. But when we come back, we're going to have some current events and then story time. And story time is going to be a little bit of trivia, but we're going to talk about a candy maker's story. So that'll be kind of fun. And then our author, Mary Kelly Koa of Derailed, will be joining us. I read the whole book. I loved it. Enjoyed every bit of it. Recommend it. Don't do that often, but I will do that on air because I really did like it. And I'm waiting for her next one. So
I think it's a series, right?
yeah, it is. So looking forward to the next one. And so like I say, this is our long break. It's our news break. So listen to the news or go get something to eat, some fruit, veggies, whatever.
See you on the flip side.
Yep,
Put
we'll
it
be
in
right
the
back.
blender.
So here's the choice. Some people say the USA is finished. It's evil, a has-been, full of hate and injustice. The U.S. Constitution should be trashed and the Bill of Rights abolished. No free speech, no gun ownership. Competition and free markets are bad. We're all too stupid. For our own good, the government must own everything and know all your secrets.
Other people say that America has created the freest, richest, happiest, most generous society that has ever existed in the world. That's why millions of people are desperate to come here and escape their brutal lives in Cuba, Venezuela, North Korea, and 100 other countries.
In America, we have the right to succeed, the right to our own living, the right to have a family, the right to believe in God, the right to have our own ideas, the right to be safe and secure, and the right to be left alone.
Where do you stand? Help us save the Constitution and restore the American dream. Go to SaveMyFreedom.com.
Brought to you by the American Media Council.
Rich is just a really good guy. The term good egg isn't enough to describe him. He's also certified organic and free range. Rich puts the cap back on everything. The toothpaste, the olive oil, the shampoo, everything. He lets his 10-year-old nephew beat him at virtual tennis, even though he can straight up slay his 10-year-old nephew in virtual tennis. When the toilet paper is running low, Rich replaces the roll on the actual holder, not just on the back of the toilet. Rich is texting and driving. Rich, no. What are you doing, Rich? I was just telling everyone how great you are. Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This is America Matters Media Radio, heard worldwide on the web at americamatters.us and on KCKQ 1180 AM, Reno.
USA Radio News with Tim Berg.
Opening the Senate on Monday, Senate Majority Leader from Kentucky, Mitch McConnell, says a Republican bill on police reforms is a common-sense measure.
Large majorities of Americans support new steps that would help the vast majority of good, decent, and brave law enforcement officers re-earn the trust of Black Americans for their vital institutions.
Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott says the coronavirus is spreading at an unacceptable rate, and he's asking Texans to wear a mask.
Some people feel that wearing a mask is inconvenient or that it is like an infringement of freedom. But I also know that wearing a mask will help us to keep Texas open.
The governor did not sign an executive order, though, forcing people to wear masks, saying it's too difficult to enforce across the state. You're listening to USA Radio News.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I've had a lot of really great days back to back, which has been a huge blessing. Even my doctor told me, because they asked me to bring everything in that I take on a daily basis, he was very encouraged by seeing what I was taking, and he said he didn't care how many I had. You know, he said it's food. And the form that it's in was something that he was very, because he's an avid learner, and he's always researching, and he's always excited to see new things. And he told me, this will be good. This will help you immensely with the nutrition that you need.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Start your journey to better health today by calling 1-800-2468-751 or by going to balanceofnature.com, and make sure to receive this special radio offer by using discount code USA.
Former acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney says if former National Security Advisor John Bolton wasn't happy with how things were being run in the White House, he should have stepped down. Mulvaney also telling Fox News,
I cringed. I mean, and I imagine that former chiefs of staff and former national security advisors, former cabinet secretaries from all administrations cringed to watch sort of the betrayal of confidence last night by John Bolton. It was really a classless display. It was hard to watch, to have somebody who's in the Oval Office with the president almost every day sort of turn on him just because he didn't like the style, didn't like sort of the policies. I think it undoes John's credibility considerably, and rightly so, when he just starts introducing these things at the last minute to try and sell books.
Ford is delaying the release of the new Ford Bronco because it was set to be released the day of O.J. Simpson's birthday. The SUV will now be released on June 16th. This is USA Radio News.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-610-5739. 800-610-5739. That's 800-610-5739. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
This past weekend marks one of the most violent weekends in Chicago history. More than 100 people were injured and 14 are dead from shootings throughout the city. 5 of those killed were minors, including a 3-year-old boy whose father was suspected of being the target. Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown says he weeps for his city.
I put myself in that house, holding that little girl as she struggles to breathe. I put myself in that hospital, clutching a baby with a bullet hole. Tears are a natural reaction to these tragic stories of violence. But we need to do more than just cry.
Something unusual is headed for the U.S. mainland, as USA Radio Network's Chris Barnes reports.
A dust plume is making its way across the Atlantic Ocean, headed towards the United States. The plume from the Sahara Desert is expected to arrive in the southeastern part of the country by midweek. Most of the time, these plumes dissipate over the Atlantic, but apparently not happening this time. Kristen Hollingsworth is a public health director in Collier County, Florida, where she says people with allergies will need to take precautions.
When the Saharan dust plume comes through, be mindful if you are sensitive to environmental changes such as dust.
She was speaking to NBC2 in Fort Myers, and for USA Radio News, I'm Chris Barnes.
For USA Radio News, I'm Tim Berg.
The following is an America Matters Media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
Now she's gone like a riddle in a song, all the way to MIA, where she thinks that she belongs. Poof, now she's gone like a riddle in a song, all the way to MIA, where she thinks that she belongs.
Welcome back. You're listening to What's the Story? And I'm Janice Hermson. This is our second half of our show. If you missed the first half, you missed a good hour of What's the Story, because there was lots of good stuff going on. Good guests, Chris Paris and Mark. Mark.
They got their act together, though. They got a clue.
Mark Aston, and they're both of Navaca. And that was a great segment. And so if you missed it, you can download our show. And we're also streaming live on YouTube. And we're just thrilled to be here and happy to be able to chat with everybody.
Does anybody get our breaks when we're talking?
No, they're not getting the breaks right now. No. I cut that off.
Yeah.
It makes it a little easier.
Wise decision.
Makes it a little easier for everybody, because when you're always on, that's tough. That's tough when you're always on. So.
Well, it is.
Yeah. I decided that it was better that we have a little breather
So,
ourselves.
but you see, if we go to what we do for break, Doug and I argue about government
I
and
know.
politics. So, right, but look how calm we are for it, right? So that's what we do.
Isn't that the best part of it?
It's therapy.
Yeah, you're banging the table and yelling at each other, and then we get the countdown and we're back on, and we have smiles on our face.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm going to talk about a subject that's not pleasant necessarily. Current events right now just aren't, and that is this segment. It's current events. One of the things I do want to say in the topic of current events is Brian. Our next current event for Brian is that he called me today and said that he thinks that he'll be able to come back next week. I'm not sure if it's going to be consistently back, but he's working as a result of the pandemic. He had to go back to work, and so good for him. He did, and but he's now saying that he thinks he's got some things rearranged so that he can come back on the show. So we'll be welcoming the BTS Entertainment Corner back, and in addition to that, he gave me a heads up. He's my little spot reporter. And today in South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, where Brian lives, they are kind of the counter protesters are facing off in Marion Square about the Calhoun Monument. Now, my biggest complaint about the whole monument issue was not doing it legally, not going out there and removing statues legally. If they're going to remove them, personally, I feel they should put it should be historic. Talk about the history of it. Talk about why this is there. How did it get there? Why is it staying? What does it mean? And give both sides of the issue. I think that that's really educational for everybody. It was put up at a different time and space that meant something to that particular population at that time. Yes, it's changed. So now I believe that we should learn from that and put up that history. I'm sure there's exceptions to that. I'm talking in general. So this protest, these are counter protesters coming out against taking down the statue. Apparently, it's gone before the city of Charleston's, I believe it's their city council, but I could be wrong on that. And of course, the BLM protesters want it to be taken down. The other side does not. So there, just a half hour ago, there's about 100 of them out there. And they are protesting back and forth, a little bit of scuttle, but nothing too dramatic, it sounds like. So, I just really wanted to talk about that in the sense that this is what's happening, at least in this one. They're not just going out there and throwing a rope around it and taking it down, because I just think that's wrong.
What's interesting about what you just said is the fact that if we rip these statues down,
right,
just at random, willy-nilly type deal, that's our history.
Right.
Well, I just listened to a talking head on the way here on the radio, and one of the things that he was saying is that today in school, college and senior, junior high, They're not teaching history. They're not teaching American history. So if you rip down the statues, kids today are not getting the history of this rich government that we have. Where are they going to go to get it? How are they going to learn about our heritage?
Right. Well, I will tell you that this inspired us to do a special edition of What's the Story. It'll be online within the next month, hopefully, depending on how long our research takes. We're going to do stories about the statues, what they mean, why they were there, to share that information with anybody who might be interested. Not to bash either side, not to say it should be taken down or shouldn't be taken down, but to say this is why they're there. And these are the ones they're taking down. They've taken down some that actually were people who supported abolishing slavery. So they're not really paying attention to that. And
like
that's
Abe Lincoln.
Yeah, that's the disaster of this, is that they're taking things down that really they're not paying attention. It's not structured. It's, like you said, willy-nilly.
So they need leadership. And what we have is a bunch of expressive folks just crying no.
Right.
Right. And that's not a plan.
Right.
Right. And the plan is needed.
The other thing that Brian did is he really researched Black Lives Matter in depth. And one of his concerns, because he's obviously in the midst of it too, one of his concerns is there doesn't seem to be direction. The people who founded it don't seem to have...
There's no leadership.
Right, they don't have true leadership. So you don't even really know what the premise is. He says, if you're going to say you support it, that's fine, but do you know what they stand for?
Well, right,
he says, I can't figure it out.
So people have to guess.
That's so true.
Right, he's trying to figure it out.
That's right,
so,
people have to guess.
Right, so that's the message that, if I'm having any message at all to this, which is really more about the history and all of that, and that is what we're going to cover. It's pay attention and really know what you're investing your time and your efforts in, not just a slogan. Of course, Black Lives Matter. That goes without saying. My daughter said to me, didn't they know that? So, that was her comment.
It's called mob mentality.
It is.
Everybody's running in one direction, and they don't say, well, where are you going? I don't know, but it looks like fun.
Right.
So
my comment here is, yes, there's something going on right now. It's not, at least it's peaceful enough, and they're both sides are having their say. I think that's one of the best kind of protests you could have, is where everybody's got their say. Yay. All right, so this is What's the Story, and that was my story, and we'll be right back in just a moment with some trivia.
Hey, all you entrepreneurs out there. Whether you have a small business or work from home, LeRue Press offers a virtual office and business address for all your business needs. Located at 280 Gregg Street, Suite 10, LeRue Press is your personal assistant for friendly all-day service. Need a conference room to meet with clients? You got it. With LeRue Press, you also get phone answering service, mail forwarding, package pickup, and even help branding your business. Call LeRue Press at 849-3814 or go online to lrpnv.com.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
911, what is your emergency? My kid shot himself. All right, where's the wound, sir?
911, what's your emergency?
Please help. My son shot his brother. 911, what is your emergency?
911, please state your emergency.
Every day, 8 kids and teens are unintentionally killed or injured by loaded and unlocked guns.
It wasn't locked. It wasn't locked.
Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and End Family Fire.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now back to the show.
Are you ready to sing the blues? Are you willing to listen to this next man? Man got his harmonica in his hand. Good God, ladies and gentlemen, Bobby Joe! Bobby Joe!
Welcome back.
I wish I could do that.
Miss Bobby Joe.
I wish I could do that. Man, my hair on my neck stands up every time I hear it.
And though we are going to have Brian coming back, I think Bobby Joe's still enjoying his married life and
his honeymoon,
his new home, and so if you're listening, Bobby Joe, we do miss you, but we understand 100%. We love your music, so we just keep playing it. One of these times we're going to have to remove it. But
he's going to be all calm and then like this low frequency.
He did tell me he'd come back. He did say
he's going to be all enjoying life.
Our NPR mode.
That's right. Well, this is our story time, and I'm wondering if you guys know what M&M stands for.
Oh, you mean on the candy?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Any ideas?
No, I thought it was WW, personally.
Oh, boy. You know, first he wears his mask over his eyes. He reads things upside down. We're in big trouble.
I think, what's the name of those agitators? I think you might be one of those protest agitators, like moving up to the next level.
You know what? The bus is going to pick me up here after the show.
Well, actually, it's Mars and Murray.
Really, the two founders?
The two founders.
I got the Mars right. I was guessing Mars. I know Mars because that's the name of the company. Mars.
Yep, that's who now has it. Yeah. Long history here, and I'm not going to go too in depth on it. I can share a few stories with you of the disputes that they had. It's pretty complicated, which is why I'm not going to do it on air because I was confused. So I figured I'd confuse you if I tried to go after it. But interestingly, they did not get along. At different points in time, there was lots of dispute, and one ended up buying the other one out, and obviously Mars.
Sugar highs.
Yeah,
they were fighting it out, right?
That was it, yeah.
But what I found ironic after I read that, because I thought that was really interesting, but after I read that, I went to the website because I thought, well, they're telling their history. What does the story say? Well, and I don't know if Paul's listening, April, but I found this really interesting because in their history, they keep it so generic. They don't talk about the founder at all. They keep it totally generic to the history kind of the candy making as opposed to of the founders. Usually you'll talk about your founders. Everybody, I look at websites all the time and they, you talk about that history of, my parents are part of our history.
They must have been really nice people.
And you know what? And there's a lot of statues too.
So I just found it so interesting that what they did was they diverted. So I thought about you and Paul, April, and I said, oh, well, that's a way that you guys, when you transition, that you can transition your business without having to keep it too personal because you can just talk about the history of how those things, how diversified you were, just like what you were talking about, April. You get what I'm saying?
I think so.
Yeah. I just thought it was...
anyone could wear the shoe, I guess.
Right.
So, well, Mars bought Hershey to get a chocolate story.
He did.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what they got. They got a story now.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is complicated, and that's why I didn't really go into it a whole lot, because there's all sorts of twists and turns that it took. But when I did go to the site, like I said, one of the things they have is, our history, and then they have little M&M's guys, which of course we all love. And they talk about what they did in the 40s. They do talk about Forrest Morris Sr. there, but in their written paragraph, they don't reference the founders in that. 1950s, it became so popular that the peanut chocolate candies were introduced in 54, and the color used to print the M on M&M's plain and peanut candy was changed from black to white. So, lots of different things. 1960s, they started Starburst.
Oh my gosh, that's what Starbucks is doing with their flavor summer crystals.
That's it. In the 80s, it became the first candy in space, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't remember that, but you probably do.
No, but along those same lines with E.T., evidently they were offered, when E.T. finds the little candies in the forest and this and that, M&M's was offered that, as the story goes, and they said, a guy coming from it, so they gave it to, who was it, Skittles or whoever it is?
Yeah, the Reese's Pieces, Reese's Pieces.
Yeah. It's probably the same company, different brand.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, and they don't talk about the period of years. In another website I saw, the period of years where the red candy was gone. There was like almost 10 years.
Well, right, because red dye didn't dissolve.
That was
red.
The government did that.
It was my favorite color, and I hated it when they took it out. I stopped eating
Didn't the red
M&Ms.
dye cause cancer or something?
I don't know, but I still love the red candy.
Yeah.
I don't eat the red ones to this day.
Coronavirus, same.
Yeah.
Right?
And then in the 2000s, they go through all the official candy of the new millennium, and MM is the Roman numeral for 2000. You find all the relationships, right?
Oh, how funny.
So, yeah, who thought of that, right? I mean, I
like the peanut butter ones.
Yeah. Well, I know M&M's is one of John's favorite candies. So, at any rate, I just thought that was very, very interesting. So I wanted to share their little story because, and it just shows you that even if those founders did battle a bit, it didn't stop the company from proceeding and being successful.
Sounds like a scene for Murder, She Wrote. Right? Would that be like in the Mars plant factory?
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
With the offices connected.
I can tell you an alternate use of M&M peanuts is that when I was working in a fire station, the best crew I ever had, I gave them free rein. They could pretty much do what they wanted. And I went back into the day room one day. Half the crew is standing on one side of the station, or the room, and on the other side is one of our better firemen. And these guys were throwing M&M peanuts at him, and he was trying to catch them in his mouth.
It tastes great, less filling.
I thought, oh my gosh. Well, so hands off. I'll let these guys. The next time I went in there, they've got a slingshot, and they're trying to shoot him at him. I go, guys, you're gonna either knock a tooth out or put his eye out. Knock it off. Stop it.
You're making a case for the privatization of fire departments.
Oh my goodness, you guys. All right, so I do have a couple of little fun trivia facts for you. Every now and then I run across some good stuff.
Good.
And
they're all good stuff.
This was some super obscure things like most toilets flush in E flat. Who would even recognize that?
So isn't that set by the size of the tank, though, right?
I knew you were going to analyze this.
No, so it's tank size, so all the tanks are the same size, so they must make the same noise.
Okay, E flat.
Right. Yeah.
Just remember that. Next time you flush a toilet, you're going to think.
So I'm not musical, right? So I don't think in musical notes.
How about which way it goes, which way it drains?
I don't have any trivia about that.
Well, it's interesting because
which side of the equator?
Exactly, we're on the north side of the equator, and it goes one way.
True. I was in Australia and I looked at it very seriously, and it didn't go any different direction.
See, you never know where these things will lead.
Well, how about this? Approximately, since we're going to go on the toilet stories, I'll pick this one. Approximately 40,000 Americans are injured by toilets each year. They don't give me any facts as far as how that happens, but
yeah,
wow.
Perhaps we don't want to know.
Well, my brother was a volunteer fire department, and he said lots of folks, when they have heart disease or getting ready to have a heart attack, get like heartburn and indigestion. So they always think that, they go to the bathroom to solve their challenge, and they black out there. So he says, as a volunteer fireman, you kicked out the bathroom door and resuscitate them because that's where they all are. And so maybe they fell on the toilet.
Well, here's an interesting fact. I'm not going to talk toilets for a little bit.
That's true.
Ketchup was sold in the 1830s as medicine.
Huh. Wonder what it cured.
I don't know. That was one I'd never heard before.
Scurvy, probably, right? Scurvy.
Oh, could be. Now, is that
That's vitamin C.
Yeah.
So here's a good one for the English language. Almost is the longest word in English with all the letters in alphabetical order. Boy, who researched that, and who's going to prove it wrong? I'm certainly not going to try, right?
So that's a word that I try to eliminate anyway from any correspondence, right?
Almost.
It's a bad adjective.
Yeah.
It's not a good one. Not at all. See if I can find another one.
Well, let's get back to the toilet deal.
Why?
I think it's interesting because the reason it's called a toilet is the guy in France is the one that invented it, and his name was Toilette. So, I mean, I pretty much wonder if
perfume, right, is toilet water, right? If you translate the French on the bottle.
So, do you guys eat a lot of cookies?
Candy.
You like candy? I didn't bring any.
My son really really likes cookies.
Do this calculation.
I'll pass on
They
cookies.
say you'll eat more than 35,000 cookies in your lifetime. Probably.
I've already passed that.
April, are you a
the
cookie
average
eater?
Cookie lover, or someone who just
I don't know.
Cookies.
Hey, can you sneeze with your eyes open? They're saying it's impossible to do that.
No, I think that's
hate
a
that
wives'
because it
tale.
always happens when I'm driving.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, when we come back, our very special guest, Mary Kelly Koa, will be joining us and talking about her book, Derailed. Awesome book. So stay with us, and we will be right back. You're listening to What's the Story?
Businesses, writers, check this out. Go to lrpnv.com to get your printing, publishing, and professional services today. Need a virtual office? A place to receive and forward your mail with professional address and suite number for your business? Someone to answer your telephones? Want to rent a conference room for only $15 an hour? What about that book you've been wanting to have printed? LRP Printing and Business Center can do it for you, and they have a professional assistant on site daily, Monday through Friday. Just call 775-356-1004. Need copies, business cards, invoices, books, booklets, or graphic design to help brand you or your business? Just call 775-356-1004 or go to lrpnv.com. With a great selection of new and used books, you can get your printing done and a book to entertain you in your time off. And don't forget, you could have your business sponsoring the Book Hound radio show, just like Andrew Martoni, author of Little Man on the Map, does every week. Just go to lrpnv.com. That's lrpnv.com or call 775-356-1004. They'll provide solutions for your business and writing projects.
Destination Midtown. Experience the difference. Reno's premier shopping extravaganza. Everything imaginable and more. Midtown matters. Get down to Midtown.
Ponderosa Meats, the anchor of Midtown since 1954. USDA choice, USDA prime cut. Ponderosa grass-fed beef. Call 775-322-4063. Ponderosa Meats, tradition, quality, and prime service.
Midtown Reno. Experience the difference. Get down to Midtown. Midtown matters.
As humans, we ask ourselves all kinds of questions. But what if we were forced to ask ourselves a question every day that affected the outcome of the most basic things, the most important things in our lives? The question is, what is your sexual orientation or gender identity? And the answer is the difference between keeping your job or getting fired. The answer is the difference between staying in your home or getting evicted. The answer is the difference between receiving medical treatment or not. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against people based on their answer to this question. LGBT Americans have the right to say I do, but they don't have the same basic rights as everyone else. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Gill Foundation and the Ad Council.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Wake up, the sun below. Got another road to sow. Let the fire feel the hope swelling up from the depths of my soul.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now back to the show.
Welcome back. This is What's the Story? We've had an awesome show today, you guys.
Yeah, it's
Really
been
had a
fun,
good
hasn't
time.
it?
It has.
Yeah.
And it's not over.
No, it's
that.
still going. As
Yeah.
a matter of fact, I was just trying to read an email on, it's on crappers.
No.
Right? And
On
so
our last topic.
It was on our last topic, but we love input from the studio audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
you're not going to share it?
Yeah, that's right. You started to throw it out there.
Well, I was glancing at it. It distracted me. It takes up the whole page. I haven't had a chance to read it to see if it's like radio worthy.
That's right. Well, we are honored to have our next guest on the show. She is an author, and Derailed is her first novel. And Mary Kelly-Koa, welcome to What's the Story? Oh, maybe. Perhaps. Maybe she's not hearing us. And so we've had some fun with this these days with our guests coming on. And Mary seems to have some kind of little cloud hanging over her. The last time we tried to have her on.
Communication.
She's busy writing right now.
She might be, yes, except I'm seeing her. So pretty sure she's there, but I don't think she's hearing me.
She said she's in the Zoom group chat. She said she can't hear us.
Okay.
And then she said to me, am I supposed to be on video? I thought I was on audio only. So maybe she has some question about that. I don't know. Should I answer her?
Yeah, answer her. Yeah, tell her that it's both audio and video. And in the meantime, I will read a little bit about Derailed. A Dying Wish, A Secret World. Can this investigation stay on the right track? P.I. Kelly Pruitt is determined to make it on her own, and juggling clients at her late father's detective agency, a controlling ex, and caring for a deaf daughter was never going to be easy. She takes it as a good sign when a letter left by her dad ties into an unsolved case of a young woman struck by a train, thus derailed, right? So have we got her there yet?
I don't know.
Okay, she's not answering you. Yeah, this has been very interesting.
She's been what?
She's been derailed, right?
Well, what's so fascinating to me is so of all the books and things that we've done, I know Jan just hungered for this.
I did. I really wanted this
right?
interview.
I mean, she just gobbled up this book like it was like Hershey's chocolate bars for me, right?
M&Ms.
M&Ms. And so anyway, it's really
it's
great
ironic.
to talk to this gal because I know you loved it.
I did. So I still don't think we have her. Maybe you could ask her to call in. Perhaps that would be a better choice at this point since she can't hear us.
All right.
Unless she's getting it fixed. It looks like she's working on something.
She's connected and she can see us, but she just can't hear us. So I don't know if usually Christian tells me what to do.
I was going to say the studio
Looking for
audience.
the engineer here.
The studio audience would like to know how to see us and not hear us.
That's
No.
Is that the game?
No,
I didn't think it was. Well, you're right, though. I did enjoy the book. It's not often that I can sit down and actually read a print book. I do a lot of audiobooks because, it's something that I can do on the fly. I can do it while I'm doing other things. So to have the pleasure of being able to sit down and open a book and be able to read, a chapter or two, set it down, and know that I wanted to go back and read some more.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've had that experience. So but yours was different. When I did this, a lot of it is the fact that it was light enough that I could keep it there, live with the characters, and come back when I could. So, and wanting to, and that's one of the things as an editor that I'm always looking for is how do we get to a point to where no matter where they stop, if they stop at an end of a chapter, are they going to come back? And is that first sentence in that next chapter going to intrigue them enough to keep going?
So Mrs. Paulifax has to get out of Albania, right? So I'm going on a trip. I'm going to finish reading that book. And the fact is that, right, there's a right people with a skill, you authors with that create that hunger for the next scene. Right. There's a special talent that I don't have, but it's awesome.
Jan and I were talking a little bit a couple hours ago before we were on the air about a book I picked up, and it had a bunch of short stories to it. And in the foreword, they were explaining about how, when you have to explain, it's on a different level and you have to really get into it. That's not my type of reading, even if it is a short story. I want something that flows and takes me along and makes me either laugh or cry, makes me do something. So, yeah.
Well, that's why we have Mary Kelly Koa on today. Mary, I think we have her on the phone now.
I am here.
Oh, hooray.
Woo-hoo!
Welcome.
Yeah. Yay!
There's a few technical difficulties today, apparently, but
I know. It just seems like we have some sort of cloud hanging over us when it comes to your interview. I have been really looking forward to this. And
thank you.
Ed was just saying that this is like one of the interviews that I was like, I can't wait to have her on because I read the whole book and I loved it.
I know she really hungered for your book and is excited to talk to you. We can't help.
Yeah.
And I don't often.
I know, it's just been kind of a weird thing. I don't know, but I'm glad I'm here now. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's wonderful. And I did read a little bit to our audience about your book, but why don't you give us a little bit of your own background and how you got started writing and then more about Derailed.
Okay, well, gosh, I actually wrote this book in 1999, and it was the fourth book I ever wrote. I started in my late 20s as just kind of an idea that I could, perhaps write a novel, and I had been in the legal field for a few years before that. So I had kind of a legal background. I always had an interest in legal maneuverings and justice served, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So huge fan of Mary Higgins Clark and Sue Grafton, Janet Ivanovich. So I did end up writing Derailed in 1999, and then I set it aside for a little bit. So I got out of the legal field about the time I was about 35 and started a company, and that kind of kept me busy for about 15 years. Fast forward 2016, company is sold, and I come back to Derailed and started editing it, and now it's out on the market today. But it really follows the first journey, the first real PI case of Kelly Pruitt, who has inherited her dad's agency, and it's her first investigation.
Well, you took some really interesting twists and turns, and I have to say that having read the whole thing without doing any spoilers, I was surprised at the end. So,
good.
Yeah, I thought I'd let you know that.
That is one thing we always hope for as writers, but we just never know for sure.
Right. Well, and usually I can figure it out, but I will say that you did a good job of making it, giving enough to not give it all away. So
Right, yeah, that's the key, right? Just giving you that so that when you're done and you close the book, you think, if I'd have caught that one clue, maybe.
Right. That's
maybe
right. That's
I could have
exactly
seen it coming.
right. Yeah, and if I was talking to you privately, I'd tell you what those things were, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want to spoil it for
no
the
spoilers.
audience. No spoilers
That's
here.
right.
No, we don't want to do that. But tell us about kind of so how did you come up with the premise? Was this just something, I know it was in 1999 and but give us kind of an idea of how did you get there? Because there were a lot of things in there that I wouldn't have expected.
Yeah. Well, the premise of it, I used to work downtown at the law firms, and so I was working in high-rise law firms at the time. I was even writing mass transit at the time, or slightly beforehand. And so the idea always came from that notion of what happens if you step off the curb, because, the way the tracks are for mass transit is, if you're a step away from not going home tonight type of thing. And so that was the first idea. And then the thought of what if she didn't accidentally fall? What if she was pushed? And what if what she was doing or perhaps a part of her life kind of led to that? And I worked backwards from the crime. Is
That's
how
interesting.
The idea started to form. A lot of people who read it are a little surprised at some of the twists in it, because if you know me, I'm a fairly conservative girl and all. But
there were some interesting twists there.
There were some interesting twists. It's just, as a writer, you let the story take you, and there was a certain point where I just kind of was transcribing what was the ideas that were coming into my head. So they weren't exactly what I thought out at first, but I'm at what they call a pantster, which means I don't do a lot of plotting. I really just sit down with an idea and the characters in mind and kind of keep typing into the story. And every day I'll come up with a new twist, a new idea. And then sometimes that causes me some problems. I have to go backwards and fix a bunch of stuff and then go forward again. But it all works out in the end.
And unfortunately, we are going to have to take a break pretty quick. But I want you to tell everybody where they can get your book. And if you have a website, also where your website is.
Yeah. The best place to go is my website, marykilliikoa.com, MaryKelliikoa.com. All the buy links are there, but Amazon, of course, Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org.
All the typical.
Order from your local bookstore.
Yeah, and say your name again, because I obviously said it wrong.
Oh, you were very close. It's Mary Killiikoa.
Killiikoa. I missed the E.
Yeah.
There you go. Say, Mary,
2 I's really fast.
I could pretend I said it right.
You did pretty good.
Thanks. You're so kind. Especially after all our little mishaps with not being able to get you on air here. So we're glad to have you, and we do want to have you stay through the break and have you come back and chat a little bit more about Derailed, which is a Kelly Pruitt mystery. And as I said, we are talking to Mary Killiikoa, and she will be staying with us, and we'll talk to her again on the other side, so don't go away.
Hi, this is Eddie Floyd. Let me tell you about my favorite non-profit public charity, Wainema Wild Horse Sanctuary, located on the Forsyth Ranch in Hallelujah Junction area. And please go to www.wainemaranch.com. That's WYNEMA ranch.com.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. I help people solve difficult and trying personal problems every day on my TV show, but there's one problem that's just got me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. That's 1 in 5 kids who may not know where their next meal is coming from, despite the fact that there's more than enough healthy, nutritious food out there to feed them all. Now, I don't know about you, but that is unacceptable to me. Luckily, the Feeding America network of good people is out there collecting surplus food and giving hope to hungry children and their families at local food banks all across the country. But let's face it, they can't do it without your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang.
Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
GTG, BRB, OMW, be there in a few. You may think that these kinds of texts are fine because of their length, and you can easily send them at a stoplight. But no, answering one text can take your attention away from the road for 5 seconds. And traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Make good decisions, don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Now she's gone like a...
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now back to the show.
Welcome back. You are listening to What's the Story, and I'm Janice Hermson, and we are speaking to Mary Kali'ikoa, and she is with us on the phone. Unfortunately, our signals didn't want to work on Facebook, but we are glad to have you, Mary. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So let's get right back into talking about your book, Derailed, which is a Kelly Pruitt mystery. One of the questions that I do have for you is, what's next? Is there another book coming out?
There is. So when I signed to write Derailed, I actually signed a 3-book deal. So book 2 is Denied, and it will be out next May, and then Deceived is the one I'm actually working on right now, and it's book 3, and it will be out the following May. So
all right.
year releases, every year release.
Wow. So in the meantime, with the pandemic happening and all of that, I'm sure it's changed your ability to go out there and meet your fans and sell your books. How are you handling that? What are you doing to kind of adjust to that? Because we're all adjusting, right?
So I've been doing a lot of online types of things, of course, like Facebook and Instagram. With technology, for the most part, it works pretty well. Not always, but for the most part. And, I've been able to do a lot of interviews. Podcasts, of course, have been great. So reaching out that way. And there's a lot of people on social media, even more so now because of the pandemic, much more than probably used to even be. And so, they've been at home, and they're looking for new books to read and interaction. So it's been actually really fun and like as a writer, one thing we've all been doing for each other is we have our own brands and our own formats, and so we're bringing people in to interview and help each other up and bolster each other. So the community has been very helpful as well. So it's been a lot of fun, actually.
Oh, that's excellent.
If a pandemic can be fun. This part's been pretty good.
Well, you have to make the best of it, right?
You do. You absolutely do.
Yeah. So since it's been, you started this one in 1999, how do you find your writing process compared to, because obviously you left it, you came back, you redid this, and you're not the first author I've spoken to that's done something like that. They, these things lie in the drawer for a while and then they bring them back out and they're better than ever, honestly, oftentimes. And so now, how has that changed how you write it all? Because now you're in a different space and time. How do you pick that up again and keep going with that character?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Because when I was writing this, I was, parenting 2 stepdaughters, and I was in my 30 when I was 35 when I wrote this. I was working full time. That was a whole different life. And now it's actually better in the sense that I actually have time to write. I was a 5 o'clock in the morning person, trying to squeeze in an hour before I had to go to the law office and work. Now I actually have a life it's a little bit more cohesive and a little bit more able to write as far as that goes. So it's different in that sense. As far as confidence level and that, I think being older helps. I'm going to be 55 in a couple months, and I think just having a certain level of confidence has helped as I've gotten older with my writing. But, you're always it's still just time and putting words on a page, and, that part of it is never going to be different. It's still
True.
a lot of work.
Yeah. Do you find yourself really liking your characters, or are they more just part of that story and then you leave it? How do you?
Well, Kelly Pruitt, I really like. I've been with her for so long now, right? And it's been 4 years since I picked her up and to get her published. So I've really been with her a long time. This last time, I really like her, and it is not going to be easy to leave her behind if I decide to go and write a different series or whatever. So I think I'm still just as invested in her today as I was, and I think as I get older, I look for books with character development, so it's even more important to me to have character and family story inside my novels. So, I really kind of connect up with that more as I've gotten older versus more plot-driven.
And you said
that's changed, actually.
You said your next book is Denied. So how does that kind of weave us through how we go from Derailed to Denied?
Well, Denied picks up where Derailed leaves off. When she ends the book, there's about a 6-month gap, and she's recovering from a few things that happened in book 1. So, and then she's going to pick up another case. And that case is actually going to be coming to her from a former classmate who's in a high-risk pregnancy, and her father has gone missing. So she's hired Kelly to help her find her dad, which is good because in Derailed, there's a lot of dad issues for Kelly, and those will continue on in Denied. So, there'll still be some of that arc going on. Her ex-mother-in-law, Arlene, is still living next door, and her ex-husband, Jeff, is still in the mix. So she's still got a lot of family.
That's more real life than anyone knows.
It really is.
Yes, and so speaking
it was funny when my editor got a hold of it, she kept wanting me to tone it down, and I'm like, I've actually been in a family sort of like this. So
oh, yes.
It does exist.
It does. So maybe that's why I relate to your book so well, right? And so are there any real people that you would attribute some of these characters to, or did you really just blend all the people? How you grab different personalities and such.
Right. So you always you never really want to ever admit that you've, copied somebody. But and then the reality is, of course, people are always going to be a compilation of several characters.
Yeah.
I mean, part of my company that I worked for 15 years, I was in retail, so I had a really great bird's eye view of lots of different personalities and lots of characters. And so I kind of just kept collecting all of that and using that in my character development. So nobody in particular, just really their own people with lots of different characteristics.
Gotcha. April, did
I
you?
have a
I thought you might.
Yeah. So, Mary, you mentioned that this Derailed is your 4th book. What happened to the first 3?
Oh, good question.
Well, the very, very first book I ever wrote was with a girlfriend during a lunch hour. So that one was just kind of an exercise in how to write a book, and it was great, but it just never went anywhere. We never got it off the ground. Book 2 and 3 that I ended up writing, I actually did try to get published, but it just didn't happen. I tried for 8 years writing and trying to get something going on, and it didn't happen. And book 4 then I drafted, and then my husband said, hey, I've got this idea for a company, and so I set it aside, and we went and did that for 15 years, because I couldn't do both, right? I opened retail stores, and we were busy. But, so that's what happened to the other 3. They were great practice novels. I don't think they'll ever see the light of day. But
it's interesting.
Well, you never know.
It's interesting that you always hear about overnight successes, and they usually take about 20 years to be an overnight success.
It's true.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yes.
I mean,
Your
I've met
story
some
is
people who said, I
inspiring
just
for
wrote a
me.
book and got published.
Go ahead, April.
Oh, I was just saying, Mary is an inspiration to me because I too have wished to write more, but without our own business and the business as such, it is very busy and it's difficult. So I can relate to what Mary has said.
Oh, yeah. Well, when you're creating a business, all your creative energy goes there. So, yeah, it's hard to work.
I wish I
in
had
other
that
creativity.
excuse, but I don't have that.
You know, it's interesting because what I hear from Mary is her entire life she's followed her dream and not been afraid to take the next step. I want to do this and I'm going to do it. I mean, look at your career choices. I think that's awesome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess I am a risk taker on that level. I always think of the worst case scenario. If I can live through that, then I go for it.
Yeah.
So,
Are there any things in the book that were totally edited out that you would have liked to have kept in, or is there anything that like that out of the book?
yeah, I think probably the one thing that was different is when I wrote her, she was a little snarkier in the beginning. She pushed back a little bit more to her family when they were being a little bit controlling. And my editor asked that some of that be pulled back quite a bit, which we had conversations about that. I think we came up with a pretty good compromise because we wanted her to be likable and not too, pushing back. She does have a daughter. She has a family she has to think about. I actually ended up liking her better at the end, but that was a big change.
Does she have new hairstyle and tats now? Right? I mean, back in 1999, she had Farrah Fawcett hair.
No, but it is funny being 35 and writing a 35-year-old and then coming into the new millennia where there's social media.
Right.
And today's 32-year-old is not the same 32-year-old I was, back in 1999. So it's definitely, there's some changes, right? Oh, and that was one of the big changes I did have to make because I did write it pre-2000. My PI could actually look on a smartphone and Google somebody.
Right.
She's got magic.
That made it easier.
She's got magic at her fingertips.
That's
So that's right. So you have to come up to the new millennia there.
Yeah. So Mary, share your website with us again. We're going to have to leave. This is a hard break for us, so we're going to have
All right. Thanks for having me. It's
Yes,
Mary
thank you.
Kaliikoa, MaryKeliikoa.com.
And look for Derailed, a Kelly Pruitt mystery. And then another year from now, we'll look for another one from you, Mary. And I hope that you'll come back with us. And if you're ever in our area, look us up because we'd love to have you on again.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you. All right. And so you are listening to What's the Story. We're here every week on Mondays between 3 and 5. We have guests like Mary. We have guests like Chris and Mark earlier in the show. We have these awesome co-hosts that I have on Zoom and right here in the studio. And we have our awesome engineer, Christian. So see you next time.
I spend a lot of time in the garage, but even more time in the rain, sleet,